Good evening, everyone. I'll wait a couple seconds here before we start. I know that just got done with our previous presentation, but our next speaker is Tara VanDerveer. I love talking to Coach about a number of things, but when I get a chance to introduce her, I get a chance to really kind of talk about history. As a player, Albany in Indiana as a guard, and then got into coaching at Ohio State as an assistant, then Idaho, and then back to Ohio State in 1980 to 85. Did an unbelievable job there. And in 86 to 2024, went to Stanford. Took a year off to coach the U.S. Olympic team. We'll talk about that a little bit. Overall record is absolutely unbelievable. 1,216 and 271, 82% winning percentage. 104 and 36 in the NCAA tournament. Some of the accomplishments, I just want to go 3 times national champion in 90, 92, and 2021. 27 Pac-12 regular season championships. I was just thinking, 36 years at Stanford, and I think you went to 35 NCAA tournaments. 26 times you were first in the regular season, and maybe 27. 577 and 97 win-loss percentage in the conference. Some of the other 15-time Pac-12 conference tournament champion, 4-time Big Ten regular season champion, awards, 5-time National Coach of the Year, 18 times Pac-10 and Pac-12 Coach of the Year, 5-time WBCA District and Region Coach of the Year, John Wooden Legend of Coaching Award in 2014, 5-time Northern California Women's Intercollegiate Coach of the Year, 2 times Big Ten Coach of the Year, Hall of Fame inductee in 2011. Coach, it's our honor, and I mean that from having this virtual clinic, and we just appreciate you being on today. So, Coach, thanks for being with us.
Tom, it's my pleasure, and thank you for the very thorough but really long introduction. It makes me feel old.
Well, I just find it amazing, really, just the journey of and what all the great things you did, and the tree of coaches you left behind. And I don't mean that left behind, I mean created their careers in coaching and on the administrative side too. And I know, let's start with this. What are you doing now for Stanford? And why don't you talk about what you're doing to mentor and lead coaches, administrators at the Stanford campus?
Well, Tom, I retired from coaching last year in 2024, and I just knew that I didn't want to just totally, be gone and be done with it, kind of sail into the sunset. I wanted to stay at Stanford, and this is a really challenging time in athletics. And I think more than anything, I wanted to be a resource for our coaches. So I'm working with our new athletic director, John Donahoe, and I worked with our athletic director last year, Bernard Muir. And basically, I'm a coach's coach, working with the coaches, and John calls me an ambassador to reach out. And we've got so many things going on that people just need sometimes someone to talk to, someone to help them. And I just want to be kind of in the background, but helping coaches.
So without giving names and stuff, but what's the biggest concern coaches have that you're dealing with, that you're helping and mentoring around college basketball or any of sports? It's not just women's basketball.
Well, I talked to all the coaches at Stanford, and it's just all the things that we always deal with, communicating with your athletes, your student athletes, communicating with your direct supervisor, the athletic director, making sure that all the things that all the things that have to get done, that you have the support to do those things. And coaches now at every level are stretched very thin. And I think a lot of it, I have this on my list to talk about. One of the most important things is coaches' mental health. We talk about players' mental health, but coaches really having a life and enjoying what they're doing. And there's so much pressure that they feel, so many things that they have, so many balls in the air, how to really enjoy it. So I try to be helpful in that regard.
How did you always stay so current and up to date on the trends and changes of the game of basketball?
Well, I watch a lot of basketball, even if I'm retired. I go to the games and I watch our, Stanford men's and women's games and, the WNBA games. I'm a big Warrior fan, so I watch them play. And I just, I enjoy the game. But I think, staying current with players and trends and everything like that. I'm not on social media. I don't do TikTok unless Cameron Brink has me doing it. Um, I don't do any social media stuff because I really try to keep it authentic and get to know our coaches, get to know our players, kind of just one-on-one.
I wanted to take you back a year and a half when you were coaching, like your last year, or it doesn't really matter, any year.
Mhm.
Favorite drill that kind of maybe showed you what you have as a team, what kind of young women, young student athletes you may have, the ones leaders, and maybe not leaders. What
Mhm.
were some of your favorite drills?
Well, I like to make up drills. I like to look at what we're doing, especially offensively, and make sure that the drills always fit the offense that we're running. And in the last 10 years, we ran basically a Princeton offense, and all of the drills were related to the offense that we ran. And so anytime we were doing a drill, we were working specifically on our offense. So it could be like a backdoor drill or I just looked at what we needed to do and I would make up a drill that kind of addressed the issues, like maybe passing into the post or reading a double team, passing out of the post. And I really emphasize um, a lot of time on offensive drills because it seems that offensive skills take longer to develop.
In the summertime, did you work more skill development on the offensive side, defense side, overall? What was your focus in the off season?
I would say skill development on offense. And also, you know, I'm a kind of a whole part whole teacher in that I'm breaking things down, showing people the whole picture of what I want. A lot of teams, it seems to me, that they don't play with purpose. They come out and, just roll the ball out there and we're just going to go, go, go. And I want our players to understand that, like Pete Newell, who I'm a huge friend of and fan of, always said, basketball is simple. It's just get more and better shots than the other team. So I really want I want our players to understand what is our best shot. Like if we have someone as an example on our team who we did have someone who shot 55% from three. That is our best shot. That we come down the court and if she's open, that's the best shot we want. Then the second best shot and the third best shot. So you don't just come down and have people jacking up bad shots. So it's really understanding playing basketball with a purpose. So explaining the whole this is what we're doing, and then breaking it down and into the little segments of the footwork, the passing, really working really hard on fundamentals.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. Don't get mad at me, okay?
I try not to.
You 1990 and 1992, you won the national championship.
Right.
And then it's not like you weren't in the national championship, okay? But the next one is 2021. So what, and it goes to a question that and one of the coaches that's on, did something change in the way that I mean, you kept going and kept getting better and better, and you win a championship almost 20 years apart. Is there was there a big impact, a change in your style, or just it's hard to win? You know what I mean? When you get to the
Right.
national championship, but that's a big
Uh,
stretch.
so no, I was still awake that whole time. But it is the biggest, I think it's the biggest spread in any NCAA championship between championships for one coach, which one of my players said it was funny, like in 1990, we had an earthquake, and then in 2021, we have COVID. So she said, all we need is an emergency, just something like that, that really, is crazy. So we probably had, I'm going to say 10 teams that were capable. And sometimes the stars just have to be in alignment. You have to be playing the right people. You have to have people healthy. And we just different things happen in different years. And, we had one team that Jeanette Poland was one of the seniors on this team. We never lost a home game for 4 years. And we went to 4 Final Fours, and we were right there. And just something, Jane Appel was hurt one year, or Carly Samuelson was hurt, got hurt in the tournament. So you just never know. And it wasn't that, and obviously winning a national championship is an incredible, wonderful thing for those teams and the players and the coaches. But it's not all about winning. The camaraderie and the teams that we had that sometimes didn't win were as good or even better maybe than the teams that did win.
I'm just going to read this, Coach. This is after 1992. All right. Elite Eight, Final Four, Final Four, Final Four, first round, second round, Sweet 16, second round, Elite Eight, Elite Eight, Elite Eight, second round, runner up, Final Four, runner up, Final Four, Final Four, Sweet 16, Final Four. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, the consistency of it. How did you keep that consistency and that fire, not just in yourself, but your team and your staff? How did that work?
Well, I think, Tom, you alluded to it a little bit. First of all, I've had great, great, great staff. Um, People that, have worked really hard, are extremely knowledgeable, and I don't have to be the smartest one in the room. And, I was never the best player on any team I played on. But just the collaboration, I think, is something that I really value and really enjoy. And having great staff, and you have to have great players. My dad would say, you don't win a Kentucky Derby on a donkey. We had, I mean, Candace Wiggins, 4-time All-American, Nneka Ogwumike, Chiney Ogwumike, Jeanette Poland. I mean, just, go through Jane Appel. I mean, just fabulous, fabulous players. And they were unselfish. They really took, I think they were able to take they got away from a star system. We didn't have a star system. We had a galaxy. I mean, we had great players that meshed and really loved playing with each other. And I think that was the biggest thing.
One of the questions, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about your tips, and I'll just monitor the questions that come in. If you're tight on time in practice, what do you never skip or prioritize, and why?
Um, we we always do shooting. That's how they keep score. So we prioritize. And I will say this, and I have this in my notes, but for the most part, we never do running without a ball. So it's always a drill with the ball. And we always want to end on something fun, shooting, free throws, um, something that players are going to want to come back.
All right, Coach, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll monitor the questions.
All
Troy
right.
Hilton from the NABC is on. Troy, do you have any questions of Coach before she gets into Tara's tips?
I don't have any specific questions. Just want to thank Coach for being on tonight.
Troy, it's my pleasure, and it's an honor to um, talk to coaches that are willing to give up an evening or whatever time they watch. I guess they can watch a webinar anytime, but the sacrifices they're making, I want to be a resource for them. So, all right, are
Coach,
you
I'll
gonna?
turn it over to you for a little
All
while.
right. Well, first of all, good evening to everyone, and I'm very happy to be here and very thankful to be able to talk about a game that I never felt like it was a JOB job because I had so much fun. I love going to the gym. I was in the gym today watching Stanford practice a little bit. And I'm really happy to share some of the things that have, I think, helped me be successful. Because as a coach, if you're not successful, you get fired. And, I loved my job and I wanted to keep my job. Um, I just think that now is a really critical time for all coaches, and that it's really important at the college level to be able to recruit, and to be able to develop and to be able to retain your players. And so with that in mind, I want to share the things that I think helped me, although I did not really coach in this really changing landscape now, but things were going in that direction. And the first thing I would say is that, uh, as a coach, you're a teacher, and both of my parents were teachers. And the game, Pete Newell, he was one of the greatest coaches ever. Always said the game is overcoached and undertaught. And so a lot of people that are listening, you are teachers, and I think it's really important that you approach coaching, approach your team as a classroom, and that's how I would do it. And it starts with your ability to communicate your ideas, your philosophy, your vision with your players. And I have a communication little drill, and I always have a goal in every communication. So tonight, my goal um, is to be a resource for you as coaches. And there are three things as part of the communication, and I call it know, feel, do. What do I want you to know? I want you to know. I want to communicate how important being positive, being encouraging, being organized is, and communicate what do I want you to feel. And I want you to feel inspired, and maybe just a little bit of more enthusiasm for coaching, when you could be at home and thinking, oh, I've got this problem with this player, but to really focus on the positives and to feel good about the job that you're doing and the situation you're in. And what I would want you to do is have a great year. And I want to share some things that have helped me maybe have a great year. So I grew up in upstate New York. Pre-Title IX, I never played on a high school team. We didn't have them. I watched the boys practice. I went to a school where I watched the 7th grade team, 8th grade team, freshman team, JV team, varsity team. And then sometimes I watched a college team on the same day practice, because I was waiting for my dad to get a ride home. And I loved basketball so much. I played outside, with the boys all the time. And if they didn't want me to play, I'd get a new ball. And if they wanted to use my ball, I got in the game. But one of the things was, as a 7th grader, I tried out for a mascot. I've been fired from one job, and I was fired from the mascot job because instead of watching the game, instead of leading the cheers, I turned and watched the game. So I was crazy about basketball from the beginning, but it was a love-hate relationship, because I loved it, but I hated it because it was so painful. I didn't really get to play on a team. I ended up playing at Indiana University. And when I was at Indiana, I majored in sociology, and I took a coaching class just for the fun of it. And it was from Coach Knight. And he said in the coaching class, if you want to come to practice, you're allowed to come to practice. I'm happy to say I got an A in the coaching class, and I went to practice every day. I think he meant kind of maybe coming to practice every once in a while, but this is where I learned, I think, a lot about running a practice and the things that are important. And I loved watching Indiana basketball. I graduated, planned to go to law school. I ran out of money. I went home, and my dad said, Tara, what are you doing at home? I said, nothing. He said, well, you're going to go coach your sister's team. So my sister Marie, who was 5 years younger, they just started a program. And Marie, I learned two really important lessons in this coaching experience. First, I came home from games, and my parents would say, how come you didn't play Marie more? And I'm like, Mom, she can't shoot. Dad, she doesn't play any defense. Marie just played because her friends were playing. And number one thing I learned was parents are unrealistic. And then number two, it's like, she's my sister and I loved her. And everyone on your team is someone's sister or someone's brother. And to really show that empathy and love towards every one of the players. So I was fortunate. I knew I had to get out of my house, on my parents' house, and I got a job at Ohio State as the JV coach and varsity assistant, and I coached two undefeated teams. One was the JV team at Ohio State. We were 8-0. I was really excited about that. I loved that coaching that team, and also then the Olympic team. But so with the JV team, I think this is where, and through watching a lot of Coach Knight's practice, this is where I think I established my philosophy. Number one thing is to keep it fun and to really enjoy and be positive and enjoy coaching and enjoy the gym, enjoy going to the gym. I say turn up the music. Coach players the way you would like to be coached. Say things to them that you would want to hear. Coach them the way you would want your children coached, or a family member. And I use a quote. We use quotes a lot with our team. The quote I have from Maya Angelou is, people will forget what you say, they will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And I think that that's really important, that your team feels good and they're excited about being in the gym with you as a coach.
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
One of the people that are on, it said, Coach, across all of your great teams that you've led, what are one trait or maybe some of the common traits in their most coachable players, and how can you help develop that in others?
So, Tom, I would say that there are two non-negotiables for me in coaching, in that I want unselfish players and I want hardworking players. And when your leaders are the hardest workers, they're there early, they're staying late, they're the most unselfish players, I think that gives you a chance. And what I try to do is, you either coach it or you allow it. And I always try to um, point out to the players, on our team, like, this is the behavior that I like. This is what I want to see, and just to try to really, like, I'm a broken record. This is how we're going to do things. This is the way we do it here. And this will help us accomplish our goals as a team.
I got one more.
Sure.
When you talked about whole part whole method, Madeline Hunter, what drill do you use to teach individual and team defense? Now, I would say this, Coach, you've done some unbelievable videos with Championship Productions. And if you want to see some unbelievable, great drills, the hybrid Princeton offense that you talked about, the triangle offense, if anyway, back to, there's some great videos that you've done. So if anybody out there coaching wise wants to see some of the things you've done, and it has game footage, or not game footage, practice footage, look at Championship Productions. But Coach, I'll turn it over to you. Sorry for the
Well,
long answer.
no, no. An answer to that question, I would think, as an example. So I might, if we're going to play, our player defense, man-to-man defense for guys, I'm going to show them, here's where you want to be. Here's the position on the ball. Here's your help side. Here's the ball side. I would give them the whole big picture, and then we would do defensive stance and get in a stance, and make sure that, like, go right down to the nitty gritty of, getting in a stance. The same thing with offense. I will show them, this is the offense we're going to run. This is what it looks like. The whole big, we want to get out in transition. We want to flow our transition into our half court offense, and not complicated, but just show them the big thing. Now we're going to say, this is how we're going to run the floor. So we break it down into each little piece of it. Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the things I just wanted to say is, it's so important as a coach that that the players on your team feel loved and valued and appreciated, and that they feel seen. And one of the things that helped me a lot was, I took piano lessons as an adult, and I would practice and practice and practice, and then I would go to my lesson, or we'd have a recital, and I would sometimes just totally blow it up. And I think that really helped me relate to our players and what they were feeling. And so I think that was a good experience for me. So sometimes put yourself in your player's shoes. And I was really fortunate. I have I'm not playing right now, but I had a great teacher, and I ended up making 3 CDs and really loving playing the piano because of a great teacher.
Coach,
But
I
let me,
got another couple questions for you.
sure.
How did your offense and defensive philosophy change during your coaching career, and what are the things that remain the same?
Well, I always looked at the players that we had and tried to fit the offense to them, not the other way around. So, as an example, when we had one of the greatest post players ever in Jane Appel, who also played water polo, she had a wingspan of I think like 7'6" or something crazy. We ran the triangle offense. Jim Clemens was the assistant for Phil Jackson. I would study it, I would watch video, and just try to, text winner offense and just studied it and would do everything to put people on our team in positions where they look good, where I try to, what I say, maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. So with Jane, and also once Jane graduated, and also the officiating changed where someone with their back to the basket could get really, banged and beat up, whereas if you faced up, and in the Princeton offense, the post faces up. And so then with someone like Cameron Brink or, a thin post, maybe Chineo Gumbake, although she could battle and she could do everything. We'd put her face up post out it with the Princeton. So we ran things that would suit our personnel. Number one rule.
What tips would you have regarding evaluating competitiveness in practice?
Well, what we would compete with a lot of times is the clock. So we would do drills that we would do a shooting drill as an example against the clock. We would do team drills against the clock. So you would see the players that want to be out there, the players that consistently would win the drills. So it wasn't like you could line up. You didn't have to line them up and say, now most competitive person you go to the left, and the least competitive you go to the right. You could see it. You could see who stuck what things, especially when they got tired, especially when things got really tough, really challenged. We try to always make our practices more competitive and harder than the games, so that the games would come. They're like, boy, this is fun. This is easy.
Coach, I'll let you get back to your tips.
Okay, got some notes. So what I look at, number one priority is, I already said this, but health. And it starts with you as a coach, taking good care of yourself. And I think that coaches sacrifice too much of themselves, and then it actually hurts you with your team. So I think it's really important to, eat well, get your sleep, work out, and, invest in yourself so that you're healthy. And then also with your team, doing things that are skill related. I know, players like some coaches I've seen, they run these drills, no, there's no out of bounds and just go crazy for the ball and someone gets hurt. And, so I think keeping people healthy is really important. I saw, coach doing drills where they would line up at half court and people had to take charges from half court. We work on taking charges, but we start with just, a little push and, don't put people in situations where they're going to get hurt. I also saw a situation where I don't believe in doing contact drills the day of a game. We don't even do them the day before a game. And during a warm up for the game, at the Final Four, a team had a 3-on-2 drill, and their best player sprained their ankle. They did not win the championship that year. So we don't do any contact drills in our warm up either. We do a snappy, quick passing, shooting warm up. A lot of things that are applicable to our offense, but not contact. The second thing I think that has been really helpful for me, and I learned this from, watching Coach Knight and all the different practices, is be organized. Have a plan. It doesn't mean you have to stick exactly to it all the time, but his rule, Coach Knight's rule, was 10-minute for a team drill and 5-minute for an individual drill. So if you're doing one-on-one stuff, that's a 5-minute drill. We would alternate, sometimes team drill, individual drill. I know Coach Wooden used to emphasize like you'd work on half court defense and full court offense on one day, and then it would flip the next day. But kind of have a purpose to each drill. We would call it no fluff. Don't just do a drill to do a drill. I think develop skills, teach fundamentals. We went to China one year and we got blasted by the Chinese team. It was a Red Army team, and they were older, but boy, could they pass and shoot. And we were in the hotel, the gong would go off at 6 in the morning. I look out and there's their team working on dribbling and passing. And I had our team go down and work on that too, and they were not excited about it. But the importance of fundamentals, teaching and drilling, you'll end up going back to them. I watched Pete Newell at the big man's camp at Stanford, and there was a young man that was drafted in the first round. I think he was like a number 3 draft pick, could not do a left-hand layup. Pete had him go work on his left-hand layup. I counted 17 times, just slowing down and working on it. And again, we don't run without a ball. We do a lot of like full court drills, shooting against the clock, that like weave repeats. Our team, any good drill our team really hates. Weave repeats of, getting a weave layup at one end, at the other end, and then you do it twice down and back, and then 3 times down and back. That separates the girls from the women. The next thing I would say is the importance of feedback, being positive. So there's a saying, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it meanly. So like really the importance of very positive, constructive, specific feedback. And the better the relationship you have with someone on your team, the more pointed your feedback can be. So I think, especially with your young freshmen, your young teams, is like getting to know them, and then you can really be more specific and helpful with their feedback. Your goal is to help each player reach their goal. And so talk to them. What is their goal? Some of them might want to go to college, or some of them might want to go to the pros, and how you can help them. So I think that the next thing for me is the importance of a loyal staff. And I would rather coach by myself than have a staff that's undermining what I'm doing or being divisive. There's the quote, about the military. I guess I would rather have 1,000 enemies outside the tent than 1 enemy inside the tent. And your assistant coaches, which I'm very fortunate to have worked with great assistant coaches, value their input, respect them as people and as coaches, and give them specific jobs, and have them make sure that they know their role. So the last kind of things I have outlined are kind of like what I would say. You're not going to do it like someone else. Like the very first clinic I went to, I was a young coach. I was an assistant coach at Ohio State, and I saw a colored piece of paper in the garbage, and I went over, and it was about a coaching clinic. And I'm like, wow, look at all these great coaches. It was Coach Knight. It was Adolph Rupp. It was Abe Lemons. I mean, all these great coaches. And so I went to it, pulled this piece of paper out of the garbage can, and I was the only woman there. And I sat right in the front, and but it was like, I just said, I need to get one good idea from each person. So if you get one good idea tonight, then I will feel that it's been successful. But what more than anything is, you can't do it other people's way. You have to do it your way. But you have to understand what your way is. And I would challenge each coach to, I say, write a book. So write your ideas down. What is the, how are you going to do things? How do you want things done? And if you had to write it down, I think it's very helpful. Like we call it the Stanford way. So if I were to write a book about how we do it at Stanford, I would just say, number one thing is routines. We develop a series of routines so that it's a lot of muscle memory. So they're coming out, they know this is what we're going to do. And practice, I would say, I design practice like a menu. So the beginning of practice is always, kind of just a warm up, getting going. So we have different warm ups. then we circle up, we talk about what are the goals of practice that day? What do we want to accomplish? We have 30 practices. Practice number 1, what are we going to work on? And then we would always warm up with a layup drill, passing drills, moving, just slowly getting going. And then I would do a series of layup drills. So I'd have like maybe 10 different layup drills and pick different ones so that they're not doing the same drills and getting bored. But you want to keep working on a lot of the same things because they need the repetition. We would make sure that people are, jogging from the court to get water, back to the court, talking and encouraging teammates, giving eye contact to coaches, all the things that are important, you have to stop and correct. Tom knows this, but I'm a fool, and we have a 5-month-old puppy, and I'm like learning about training a puppy. It's rewarding the things that are good that they do. And that's the same thing with a team, making sure that they know this is how I want you to do it. And, making the corrections, not being afraid to blow your whistle or stop the drill or say, this is how I want you to do things. It's not raising your voice, it's not screaming, but making corrections. Making sure that when a coach talks, that the team is paying attention. So a lot of high fives. I think, it's proven that teams that high five each other are more successful and encourage each other. We have assigned seats during timeouts so that I'm looking at the point guard in the middle with 2 wings on one side and 2 bigs on the other side, and everyone else is behind, so that everyone is paying attention during timeouts. Bench decorum, we go over how to come out of a game, what behavior is expected when you're on the bench. We meet up after every game. We go in the locker room, and I'm pretty brief about the game, but encourage just that we develop routines, that we're going to do the same thing win or lose. We have a laminated, like if there's a stressful situation in a game, you've got a time and score situation. I remember a game it was a really, I think we were down 1 or a tie game with less than 2 seconds to go, and I called timeout. We can advance it. The team is coming over to the huddle, and our point guard at the time was Kiana Williams. She goes, "Oh, I know what we're going to do." And she was right, because we drilled it and practiced it over and over. But we had it laminated so that you could show it to the team, and you didn't have to be scribbling and drawing. It was right here. Here you are. We've gone over this, and
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The question is really a balance. Having a hard practice or hard, intense, competitive practice while keeping the fun for the players. How did you keep that? And I think that's where you're going right now, is how did you keep it really tough, competitive, hardworking, get something out of it, and still have fun?
Well, the players at Stanford, you recruit them because they're really good to begin with, and they're smart, and they love to play basketball. And I know Jennifer Azzi she was our first All-American. She'd always say, "Tara, we wanted to scrimmage," and so scrimmaging was what was fun. So we would build up to scrimmaging, playing 5-on-5, and and then just doing things. Again, I say, coming into the gym, having the music on, shooting with, doing things, I'm not going to tell you that every single drill is like fun, but a great day would be like, they'd be like, "It's over already?" Wow. You're going quickly from one thing to the next. You're not like, yelling at kids or carrying on. You're just like, "Okay, let's try that again. All right, oops, let's get it right." And really focusing on what, having them be successful. And I think, being excited about being in the gym, being together, and again, not going along, not talking and standing around, and not, our practices are probably shorter than most people's. But we do a lot of shooting, a lot of individual work, a lot of skill work in them. So, but I think playing is what's the fun part, playing 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5.
Scouting. What are the things that you made sure your teams knew? What were the knowns and unknowns, or what is the things non-negotiables that would help you win games?
Well, I think that I think scouting was a little bit of our secret weapon, Tom. Um, I watched a lot of video, Synergy, and before even Synergy, I would just say like players for the most part like to do one thing. You know, if you let them do a certain move, they like to do that over and over. And so I would try to really, with our team, we would identify what we call their favorite move and then work to not let them do their favorite move. Or like it might be a player that we're playing against where they'll want to go over their left shoulder. You know, I would take tape right on their left shoulder and just say, do not let them score over their left shoulder. And our team always felt very prepared, and they always felt that they really understood the scouting report. We were very thorough, not long, but maybe long, um, but very thorough in the scouting. Like if we're going to play your team, we would, your point guard, your two, your three, we'd go through your top 7 players. We would know what each player on our team would know what you like to do. We did things like we knew a player liked to uh, drive going right and pull up going left, and our defense was right on it. And just I think scouting for us was a real big part of we call our defense scouting report defense. If we were playing a team, we were going to work hard not to let players do what they like to do.
I was going to ask you a question regarding all the success in big games. I read off all those Final Fours, runners up, national championships, the Olympics. How did you yourself prepare yourself to be successful as a coach? How did you stay in the moment? How did you stay not I mean just just the excitement of the situations, forget that, but just preparing yourself to be the best coach you could be. How'd you do it?
Well, I try to share some of these things. I like with the Olympic, getting ready for the Olympic team, which was the Olympic gold medal game was probably the most pressure ever. I was introduced as the Olympic coach by CM Newton, who was the president of USA Basketball, he said, about a year and a couple months before the Olympics, this is not about bronze. This is not about silver. This is about gold. Tara VanDerveer. So, in the beginning, like you had 450 days before the Olympics, and then the clock is ticking down at Colorado Springs, and pretty soon you're seeing it's 130. Uh-oh, it's coming, and so I think that the only thing I knew what to do is to prepare and to, number one, I was in the best shape ever. I ran every other day. I, rode the bike. I was I was taking care of myself first, and then that Olympic team was they were challenged. They were challenged every day. We traveled a lot, but we played great competition. We we trained, we lifted. I mean, some players weren't used to that schedule, and I think it was tough at first, but this was to win a gold medal. And so, I would just say for me personally, like I would look at the team and just say, nobody's better than us. You know, we've worked really hard. Things can go wrong. And the number one thing, again, like keeping people healthy. When we were at the Olympics for the 2 weeks, you can't replace a player. So there's no going to the JV team or, go to the portal. So we never did any contact drills for 2 weeks. We would do dummy offense, 5-on-0, a lot of shooting, a lot of passing. And I learned this from our Olympic track coach, Brooks Johnson, who was a great friend and a mentor for me. Rest is not a 4-letter word. We would shorten our practices. I would just do everything to give our team the best chance of being successful. And, I just also, I think that, um, you have to kind of change, you have to have a mindset of looking forward to those big games. If you're nervous about them or stressed about them. I mean, instead, I would just say, I can't wait for that. That's what we're working hard for, is to play in a gold medal game. You know, our team would have been, if we'd been in that bronze game, they would have killed me.
Staffs, when you looked for assistant coaches that, I mean, all the coaches you had ended up going on someplace or have opportunities to go someplace and be a head coach. So what did you try to do when you found or looking for assistant coaches? And then how did you prepare them to move on to become a head coach?
Well, when I was probably initially hiring, assistant coaches, I think number one, I wasn't thinking, well, I'm doing this to help them be a head coach. Not that I didn't want that, but I needed them to complement me. So my number one assistant was Amy Tucker, who was a fabulous evaluator of talent. And we would go to the gym, and she could just pick out the players as eighth graders or ninth graders that were going to be the best players as juniors and seniors. And I think that's a skill that I did not have. I could tell you what offense the team was running, or other things about what I'd seen, but she was a great evaluator, great evaluator of talent. And then, someone like Kate Pay, who I worked with for 17 years and is the head coach now and who's doing a fabulous job, is a great communicator, someone that I think relates really well to the players. She also was someone that is, really interested in developing players, like drills and things that would help develop them. And so, I mean, I just try to complement myself with people that, Tempe Brown, I worked with, a fabulous assistant coach, someone that's extremely knowledgeable. And a lot of it now is, at the end of my career, I hired, because they were getting old enough, I hired players I coached, people like Erica McCall, Jeanette Poland, you know, they knew me, and they knew Stanford. And so that combination was really helpful.
The last thing I have, and I'm going to see if Troy's got anything, but the most successful teams you ever had, and I think we kind of talked about it, but what were their common traits that they had? What was the thing that made those teams so successful? You can talk about the Olympic team, you can talk about the 3 national championships, you can talk about all the runners up, all the Final Four teams. Is there a common thread, a common theme, a characteristics that make a winning team?
Well, first of all, I'll go back to what my dad said. You don't win the Kentucky Derby on a donkey. I mean, the Olympic team, Dawn Staley, Teresa Edwards, Katrina McLean, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Ruthie Bolton. I mean, the list of Katie Stedding, Jennifer Azzi, Venus Lacey, Carla McGee, Nikki McCrae. They're just like fabulous, fabulous players. They're skilled. They're in great physical shape. They are competitive. They uh, 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 are just, they're great people. Rebecca Lobo, um, you know, they were just phenomenal team. They got along with each other. They encouraged each other. They understood the big picture of winning, which is basketball is a team game. It was invented as a team game, and it always has been. And they were not about individual glory. And the top players like Teresa Edwards, who'd been in 5 Olympics, or Katrina McLean, I think is almost hands down the best player I've ever seen. She probably, and Cheryl Miller are just phenoms, and they weren't about their statistics at all. There was no NIL involved. They just were about winning, period, with a capital W. And whatever it took, they were willing to do it. And I made it hard for them. I made it really challenging. The Stanford team's the same way. Great, great people, great players, and great leaders. We had great leadership on teams that have won national championships. I mean, and it's not always the best players as your leader. We had a young lady on our Stanford team, Alyssa Jerome, who nobody would know her name, but she started sometimes, she didn't start sometimes, and she was the same no matter what. She was a leader of the team because she cared about the team's success ahead of her own. So, and when you're a coach of a team like that, it's really special. You've got players that you just want to hang on to that kind of thing. That it's kind of like this honey just dripping all over you, and you know, you just can't get enough of it.
I love your analogy. One of the people coaches on here asked, "What's your best championship productions DVD would you recommend?" So I was pulling up. So I'm going to look at these, and here's the last question I have, and then I'll see if Troy has got anything, and then I'll go through the videos that are on championship productions. Um, let's see here. What would be your message to today's high school player wanting to play at the next level, given the landscape of collegiate athletics today?
I don't think it's different than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Work on your skill. Be a skilled player, be able to shoot, be able to pass, be able to dribble, work on being in great physical shape, work on being a great teammate. It's not all about you. It's be someone that's encouraging everyone, being inclusive and encouraging. Um, so I think that's it's not different than 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago. People are genuine. I would say more the same than they're different. Yes, we have social media now. Yes, we have cell phones. We have all, computers and all this stuff and video. But the bottom line is give the players the best chance of being successful. Like my piano teacher, help. I want to be a coach like my piano teacher. Take your players someplace they can't get by themselves. My piano teacher did that. I thought I could teach myself, and I was wrong. So as a coach, it's helping your players get somewhere they can't get by themselves, and that they understand that and they see that and they feel that.
Troy, you got anything?
Hey, Coach, I was just really intrigued by the attending practice every day at Indiana and then going to the clinic, being the only female there. How did Coach Knight tr treat you once you did that every day and once you became a regular?
Well, I didn't sit like in the front row, Troy, but we would practice after the men, and he was very nice. And I met Coach Knight, and actually coach's son went to Stanford, so we would watch the Indiana games way back in the day, like on satellite in the gym. But he was very positive, and he was very encouraging. He wrote me. Both Coach Knight and Coach Wooden wrote me a beautiful, beautiful letters after watching the Olympic team. And I still have the letters. Coach Knight wrote, that's one of the best basketball games I've ever watched, our gold medal game against Brazil. And just, it made you feel proud.
I'll bet.
Coach, is there any
Tom,
other
can I
tip?
add one thing? Can I
Yeah,
add one
go.
thing? Um, uh, I think one of the things that I learned, and this happened not after wins, but after losses, is again, be the same person whether you win or lose. And we developed a routine with our team after every game, basically. The next day when we came to practice, or if we had a day off, the day after that, whenever we met up after practice, not right after the game, we developed a routine of number one, giving each player we called them kind of a feedback sheet, 3 things they did well, 2 things to work on. So specific things, like help them reach their goal of being the best player they can be. Here's what we need you to work on. And there might be players that didn't play, and then we base it on their practice. The second thing we would do is we had a goal sheet for our team. What goals did we accomplish in that game? And the goals were the same for every game. And I would look at, as an example, the top 4 teams in the country the year before, and I would look at their field goal percentage and average their field goal percentage or average their defense, and put these stats. So, shooting whatever it was, 50% or 51% from the field. free throw percentage that we needed. And so our team could look and say, well, what goals did we get? And then we always, always, always would watch a highlight tape. And, you know, God forbid I forget some highlight, but, you know, and it might not just be baskets. It would be someone that set a great screen or someone that took a charge. So to really reinforce the positive things that we're seeing so that in fact they could see it, you know, they could see it and that they could internalize that into their game.
I've got two last questions for you, Coach, and then I'll talk about the videos. And I think we hit on this, but I just want to make sure because the question's been up there a while. How much did your offensive and defensive philosophies change during your coaching career? What are the things that remain the same?
Well, I would say that I would say I don't know that they changed. Our offenses changed, but our offensive philosophy was number one, get more and better shots than the other team. And that was our defense, you know, that was kind of the overall philosophy. So, you know, emphasizing on defense, sprinting back, boxing out, doing things that, doing the little things. And I would say our offensive system would change based on our personnel. But there's one year we had a lot of injuries and we walked the ball down the court. So based on how I could put our team in a position to be successful, not saying we're going to run this offense because it really, you know, is like Tom McDonald sent me a really great video on it, you know, or Troy's team ran it. No, we're going to do what works for Stanford and for that particular Stanford team, or, you know, the same thing with the Olympics. And just making sure that we had a real clear vision, and that's not easy. Clear vision of what we should be doing with that team, and sometimes it's really hard to figure that out. But that was when we were most successful. We had that figured out.
Here's my last one, Coach. This is just a text message I got. As you went through your coaching career, how did you just yourself stay motivated and stay kind of in the moment with the, you know, and I hate to use the word gap, but from the national championships to the next one, how did you just stay motivated at such a high level of achievement?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think I live in the moment. Like I would, you know, sometimes like losses could be really painful. You know, they could be really painful, but pain to me was something that I was a real motivator. I feel like pain and love were the two biggest motivators. You know, I loved the game of basketball and I wanted our team to be successful. And if we weren't, it was really painful. And I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'd watch more video or do whatever I could to help our team be successful. But I try to really, you know, enjoy this day today and to maximize the day today, to have it be the best day I can, because, you know, again, like we had a team that was ranked number one, great team, great players. One player went down ACL, another player goes down ACL. All of a sudden, we're the first team to, you know, lose to a 16 seed, which was a great team, by the way. But, you know, it really, like all during that year, people would always say, oh, the NCAA tournament, the NCAA tournament. I'm like, I learned just let's enjoy today. Let's enjoy today's practice. Let's enjoy today's game, even if it's an exhibition game, you know. You know, making sure you high five every player on your team, on your staff, and just say, you know, we're gonna have a great day today. And then if, you know, our team sometimes would get like really down if we lost a game. You know, I'd come in and we lost a game, and you know, the team was really discouraged and really frustrated. I'd be like, hey, wait a minute, I've lost over 200. This is only your first game to lose, you know? So get over it. Let's move on. You know, have a little amnesia. Let's move on. Let's learn from that. You know, I was worried actually when we didn't lose in the Olympics, because sometimes you learn a lot from losing. You know, you don't have to lose, but learn and move on.
All right. I'll say these things. Coach has done some really great videos, even a long time ago. But she's got one on mastering the basics, 30 favorite drills, the spread Princeton offense. We did that, I think, during COVID, didn't we, Coach? Of your video
Yeah.
that was an unbelievable video.
Yeah, that was funny.
The triangle offense, and then I think the best one for coaches is Tara VanDerveer All Access video, because you get to see you coach, you get to see how you talk, share, communicate, educate, correct, and fix, and your whole staff. I think that's one of the best ones. You've got great skill development videos and also favorite drills. So I'll just echo this because I think it's unbelievable what Coach VanDerveer just said about she lives every day. And I mean this. And I'm not, and she goes skiing every day, water skiing. How many straight days did you go water skiing?
This summer, I think I almost got to 100.
100 days of skiing in a row. She has beautiful dog and beautiful dogs in the past. And I think I love being around you.
Thank you, Tom.
And I just look at what you've achieved and how you change and help people get to where they want to get to. It's been an honor to get to know you. So thanks for everything.
My pleasure, Troy. Nice to meet you. And for any coach, I hope it's helpful. Just really coach your culture. Start with the culture, and then when you got great kids and they play hard, you'll enjoy coaching them.
Tomorrow, just so you know who we've got, Brad Barnell from Clemson, Jeff Mitty from Kansas State, Calvin Sampson's at 6 o'clock. First one's at 4. Coach Hoyt from Oklahoma State women's basketball, and James Jones from Yale. So we got a long day tomorrow, but a lot of great coaches, and the first day was unbelievable. So thanks, everybody. If you need anything at all, my cell phone number is 515-460-8080. Have a great night, Coach VanDerveer. Thank you again. Have a great night. Send me a picture of the dog.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Bye, Troy.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.